Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Off on Tangents. This is episode 12. And it's going to be a solo one today. Unfortunately, Jake has university commitments, and he's in a busy period of his life. So it's going to be just me for today. Stay tuned. We have a lot of topics to talk about today, especially in terms of, in a broader sense, broader social political sphere, in terms of the NBA and athletes speaking out against the recent events that are happening in America regarding George Floyd. Now, it's a very sensitive issue, and we like to delve into it, especially in terms of how it impacts the NBA, given that there are a number of African American athletes in the NBA, and basically in regards to a race, but also a worldwide human issue as well that it still goes on today, which is racism. Now, we'll delve into that a little later, but as I said, this is episode 12 of Off on Tangents, and we want to talk to you about the basketball in terms of it's the return of basketball, the NBA. Now, in recent days, there's an announcement that, there was a meeting with the board of governors. So Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, held a board of governors meeting, and a unanimous vote was made to have the NBA season continue. Now, it will start on the 31st of July and end on the 12th. Assuming that the NBA Finals goes to a Game 7, it will end on the 12th of October. Now, only one team voted no in terms of having the season return or play meaningless games, and that was the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, they didn't really, they were for a return for the season, but to the point if they were playing meaningless games and risking their health, they voted no on that. But really, that's the schedule they're going to work at. Now, in this, we'll have the 8 regular season games, and we'll have the playoff format as per usual. All rounds will be up to 7 games, a possible 7 games, with the NBA Finals, starting in late September, early October. Now, in this, there'll be 13 Western Conference NBA teams and 9 Eastern teams. Now, mathematically, these teams are still in the playoff run, which is why there's the imbalance between the West and the East. Okay, and so with that, it starts a domino effect with these changes. It starts a domino effect in terms of the NBA draft starting later now, free agency. The NBA off-season obviously starting a bit later. So the draft, in terms of the NBA draft, I'll have the date written down here. It will start on the August 25th, 2020. And really which is okay. I mean, given that Adam Silver has to work with what he has, and so that's, in terms of that's fine. I'm pretty sure the rookies aren't too phased by that. In terms of the problem with this schedule is obviously the next season is going to start a bit later, and they're looking for a December 1st turnaround. So they're going to try to start the NBA season on December 1st, which is a tight schedule given that the NBA Finals are going to be run into mid October. And now it's likely that we're going to see a lot of teams load manage now because of this tight schedule. That's a possible after effect. I mean, for players like Kawhi Leonard who are already load managing, they're probably going to load manage even more now, which is sort of, I find it really, really tough. But this is what you've been dealt with. Yeah, I feel like all players should. I hope teams don't do this, but they shouldn't load manage on. Load manage their players, because really, like, you've already had a break. You have already had a break during this coronavirus, and I don't see why that you should load manage even more. But in that sense, if you look at it from another perspective, this is a good way for Adam Silver and the NBA to see if they can start the season later than what's previously been done for the last 55 years. Yeah, so in terms of scheduling, because one of the trials they're doing is not competing with the NFL. Okay, it's because the season starts in October, that the NFL has already started, and we're competing with them, and we don't want to do that, because obviously NFL is like it's probably the premier sport in America, with basketball and hockey a close second and third, and baseball, sorry, and so I think it'd be great for Adam Silver to trial this and see whether, okay, if we start this later, okay, we'll still be competing with the NFL, but a majority of the season will be played and against baseball, which normally starts in I think April each year. So in that sense, I feel like I'd rather compete with like the NBA from an NBA perspective. You'd rather compete with baseball, because I feel like not a lot of people watch baseball, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the crowds; it's really out of touch with the game. Maybe viewership on TV is increasing, but in terms of who you want to compete against, you don't want to be competing against the NFL for a majority of the season. You'd rather be doing that against baseball and hockey, given that NFL is the premier sport. Anyway, let us know what your thoughts are on that, with the NBA starting the season later, and which could give this an opportunity for Adam Silver to, start thinking about ways to change the format, or even go back to the issue of reducing the amount of games per season, so that players can have, instead of low managing, they can play the full season. Okay, but that also runs the argument, like, if they reduce the season schedule even further, players will start low managing off that schedule. So let us know what your thoughts are regarding this. I mean, I feel like it's a good opportunity for the NBA to find out, if they can run the season a little bit later. Now, another thing we wanted to talk to you about before we get onto the George Floyd incident is the possibility of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving returning for the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they're currently in the 7th seed in the East, sorry, and if there was I was watching on YouTube, there was an odds. They released the odds before the NBA season was about to end, and now, because of this coronavirus, there's talk about possibility of KD and Kyrie returning, and their odds dramatically reduced. But KD was quickly to shut that down. I think he was on social media, and he was quick to say that, KD, I'm not returning this season at all. So sorry, Brooklyn fans, if you are hoping for a return from KD or Kyrie, I don't think they are going to return. So look, I think it's best that you don't want to rush. In my opinion, you don't want to rush star players back. We've seen the effect of rushing a star player back. Even though KD wanted to come back and play for the team, and even and show that he wanted to win. And then he re-injured himself. So we see the after effects of that. And I think that if you don't look after your player for the long term, and you don't think long term, then there's really no point of that player being there. Now, KD, I feel like he's being smart about it. He is in his prime, and he's pretty much losing 2 years of his prime for injury. So in that sense, it's like Michael Jordan that went to baseball, but he didn't get injured or anything, but he left in his prime. And pretty much, we're not seeing KD in his prime anymore. Like, we're probably going to see like maybe 90% of KD. So just it's important to bear in mind that you don't want to risk rushing a star player back of KD's magnitude, or even Kyrie's magnitude as well. And as we know, Kyrie is injury prone. So yeah, good luck out there with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the main issue I wanted to talk to you about is the unfortunate death of George Floyd, who was a black man who was a victim of a murder by Minnesota police. Now, as you are aware, the cop was kneeling on his neck, and even though there were attempts from George Floyd to say, "Get off my neck, I can't breathe," the cop still stood on his neck. Now, with every action there's a reaction, and as you can see, there have been riots all over America, and Donald Trump has even called the military in to enforce sort of martial law on its people. Now, I'm all for protests and that, but like when it comes to the point of like destroying property and businesses, then that's not really a protest. That's just using opportunity to incite hatred and violence. Now, in terms of as this is a podcast about the NBA and hip hop, and it's about black culture, and I'm all for black culture because I love hip hop and I love the NBA. I love like NFL. I love anything American. Like, it's sad to see, and in terms of the NBA, the athletes have, NBA players have stepped out and come out to peacefully protest, and it's good to see, because the NBA and Adam Silver in particular has sort of changed the way athletes are perceived. Like, if an athlete joined a rally and a protest like 20 years ago, I feel like they would get ridiculed, and they'll won't be allowed to. They'll probably get suspended. Now, Adam Silver has allowed players to peacefully protest, because and they rightfully should be allowed to protest. A majority of the NBA players are African American, are black, and good on Adam Silver for allowing them to do that, because it shows that you're empowering the players to do it. They're just, to quote unquote Lebron James, more than an athlete. They are more than just an athlete. Yeah, they should be allowed to speak on these issues. They should be allowed to peacefully protest, because you know what? It could be them one day. It could be them one day, who's been arrested and a cop kneeling on their neck. African Americans have been suffering this for almost 400 years. Like this, it's got to stop. The oppression's got to stop. And like, if you compare it to other groups like the Jews or whatever, well, yeah, they were oppressed, but it stopped. Yeah, it's more or less stopped with them. The oppression stopped. with African Americans is still ongoing. It's still an ongoing issue to this very day. And now it's really ingrained into the system, into people's way of thinking, and it shouldn't be. I think that the what people call it is systemic racism, which is really gone in, and it's ingrained into, let's say white people, or Caucasians, and I feel like that people need dramatic examples to shake him out of the current way of thinking, that shake him out of apathy, and also to really change the future. And so, look, I'm not more for destroying property, but if that's what it's going to take to do that, then so be it. Like, if that's the dramatic example that they need to shake people out of the current way of thinking, then so be it. Because protests aren't enough. People, posting comments on social media isn't enough. You need more. Like, me doing this podcast is not enough. We need a dramatic example. I don't know what that is, and it's definitely not killing people, but I feel like we need someone like a Martin Luther King, something dramatic like that to happen again, because really we're starting to go backwards in terms of racism and this issue. It shouldn't even be a debate. Yeah, I saw on social media that racism shouldn't be a debate. Like, why are we debating racism? It shouldn't even happen. But yet we are. We're still debating this. We're still having this same issue, same brutality on black people, and it shouldn't happen at all. And like I said, that dramatic example has to come from somewhere. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not posting shit on social media. It's definitely not just a peaceful protest. We've seen so many protests in the last 10 years about police brutality, and nothing ever happens. So like, even though, like, in terms of the NBA landscape, like, even though these players have, like, players like Steven Jackson, Jaylen Brown, who drove from Boston to Atlanta to join in the protest, which is, bravo. Malcolm Brogdon. You have these protests, but in that sense, it's nothing ever changes, and it's sad to see. And I hope something does happen in the future, like a Martin Luther King protest or some sort of change like that, because that I feel like that could shake people out of their current way of thinking and show that inspiration and hope in the future. But yeah, so in terms of that, look, this podcast has been a bit of a high and a low. On the one hand, I'm glad that the NBA is returning. There's a bit of basketball being played, and which is good to hear. But on the other hand, it's sad to see that this issue is still going on in America. And I wanted to talk to you about Laura Ingraham, the news reporter who has a show, the Laura Ingraham Angle. Now, she's the reporter that told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, just regarding his comments, and you shouldn't be able to talk on broader political issues. Now, it's so hypocritical of her to say that, because recently Drew Brees made some comments about the American flag and the national anthem, and people disrespecting it. Now, Laura Ingraham said regarding Drew Brees' comments that he's entitled to his opinion. He's allowed to say that. But then on the other hand, Laura Ingraham is saying to LeBron James that to shut up and dribble. Like, you're telling one pro athlete to shut up, but then you tell another pro athlete that he's entitled to his opinion. And that is so fucking hypocritical of you, Laura. You should... that is so logical in that sense. Like, and LeBron James even came out and said, "Look, I'm louder than ever now," which is bravo. You know what, Laura, you're scum. You're scum for saying that. Like, you allow one pro athlete to just be able to, okay, say he's entitled to his opinion. Okay, why don't you tell Drew Brees to shut up and throw? How about you do that? Just because you agree with his opinion, he's entitled to it now. And LeBron James says something that goes against you, and you tell him to shut up and dribble. Like LeBron said, he's more than an athlete, and he will always be more than that. He's an icon of the game, and so your comments are completely wrong. So, in that sense, Laura, I wish you the best though. You probably won't even hear this, but I don't really care. You're really scum, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, I that's all I have for Off on Tangents. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Remember to leave a like, comment, or subscribe on our channel. We are on YouTube, we are on Spotify and Facebook. So if you you have some time, just you can listen to us in the morning, day, night, whenever you are. If you really do love basketball, check us out. We're trying to promote basketball in Australia. It is getting big here, and we just want to be that voice to continue that message in Australia. So yeah. Anyway, thanks guys. Appreciate your time. Jake and I will be back next week, hopefully in the same room, to do another podcast for you. Peace.